So, this video is, I've been doing a little bit of research before I wanted to make this video. So this video is, I've been asking people, when do you feel most loved, or when have you felt most loved, or what's a memory that made you feel most loved? And the reason I've been asking people this is, one, I was just curious to see what people would say. And I guess it's also another way for me to maybe understand love a little better, or understand myself a little better. And I've been taking notes on some things that I've been studying. And so I'm gonna just read a little bit of that before I start making this video, okay? So, when the heart is open, when love flows into it and from it, a sense of security prevails. With security comes freedom. There is no need to pretend. We can be ourselves. There is no need to force our wills on anyone. We accept and embrace everyone. We include people. We allow them to be themselves because we are accepted and embraced by God. And then this is another note that I took from something that I was studying. True love, the ability to love people despite their mistakes. Love makes room for the weakest, the cruelest, the most imperfect. This is Dharma. When we stop loving, we embrace adharma. We judge, we condemn, and we reject people, invalidate them in hatred. We stop being generous. We become mean-minded, petty, stingy, clingy, and possessive. The earth weeps for us because in our ability to love, in our pursuit for power, in our lack of wisdom, we lose a golden opportunity to enjoy life. Make life enjoyable for others and find joy in giving. So that was from Monday, October 27th, 2025, 5:23 p.m. So yeah, I'd been asking people questions. The question, when do you feel loved most, or when have you felt loved most? And I wrote down some of the examples that I'm gonna use to elaborate upon this. So there was a gentleman at a workshop yesterday, surf shop yesterday, I think he owns it. And I asked him this question, and he said, when my kids race to hug me when I come home, I know it won't last forever. Dogs do that, not people. In spite the fact that they know I'm an asshole, they still override that and love me. They know me. And he was saying, like, his kids, they like try to race to see who can be first to hug him when he gets home from work. I also asked a old couple that I met at this coffee shop, and the wife said initiative. Now, I found this to be very popular with the women. Initiative seems to be really, really big for them. And the lady said, yeah, whenever like her husband would do something for her without her asking. And then the guy says spontaneity, or just like little surprises throughout the day that lets him know that he is being thought of, or somebody is thinking of him. And like his wife, whenever his wife does something spontaneous for him, that lets him feel loved, or lets him know that somebody, like, she's thinking of him. And then I asked a lady who works at the coffee shop, and she's my age, and I asked her this question, and she said, so yesterday her car broke down, or there was something wrong with her car. She took a picture of the flashing light that was happening in her car and sent it to her dad. And then her dad within an hour came to her job, asked for her keys, grabbed her keys, and took the car to the shop to get it fixed, and then returned it back to her. And then also Lacey said initiative. That's somebody that I work with. Yeah, so Lacey's thing was when I need something done and you notice that I need that done and you're able to go and do it before I have to ask you, that she feels that's something that makes her feel very loved. And then Dave is a bartender, and the reason I'm saying this part is because it matters, because he's single now, but he was married at a very young age, and he's not a cynic, because him and I have a lot of really good conversations. He's not a cynic, but he does have a bit more. He's also had a lot more of near-death experiences, so he's kind of like, he's a bit more rough about his emotions. But this is something that I did see in his eyes made him soften up. But he was saying that, when his wife was alive, his wife used to just tend to him all the time. And something that he said that, brought out some very gentle, a very gentle side out of him, was having somebody there that almost like cared more about his life than their own, and just having that person there all the time, doing their best to take care of you, to be there for you, to do life with you, and having that person there, that sense of security, emotional security, that's something that made him feel very loved, and he said it was very nice. And throughout asking people all these things, and like the one with Kylie, the girl that got her car fixed, and she was saying that it's why she has very high standards about the men that she looks for, is because she's seen that with, her dad, is like the closest man to her all the time. And so that's why, when she's looking for a man, she kind of looks for her dad, right? And it was very interesting because, she was saying that it's just what she compares to, right? And I was saying I could totally understand that, and it also makes sense, And I just tried to give her a little bit of perspective on the other side of that, of saying that, one, her dad's had 25 years of being there, right? And also that's his flesh and blood. And so for somebody new that's trying to get to know her, they may need a little time to get to knowing you, and knowing you well enough to know what you need and to be able to get ahead of it and get it done for you. It's not always going to be right off the bat with some people, but some people are able to pick up on things quickly and get to it, right? But just kind of letting her know that that is possible. But if somebody doesn't know you very well, they may not know what your needs are. So communication, it can be helpful with such a thing. And throughout asking these people these questions, when do you feel loved most? And I wrote it down here in my notes. I wrote down that they all seem to come very close to the same conclusion of people just want to feel seen, and people want to feel seen. Then they want to be seen. I think that's really what it comes down to from this part so far that I've been able to explore and ask people these questions. People want to feel seen and know that they are seen, because when you see somebody, when you truly see someone, you pay attention to the details, the subtle movements about them. And I think that's something that at the end of the day, everyone just wants to be loved. I think that's really what it comes down to, is everyone just wants to be loved. And whether people are searching for it, they've found it, or they're in the process, of it in whatever way that looks like for them. Oh, and there was another one. This girl at the spot I ate breakfast this morning, she said that she feels seen most when she's with God. And this isn't a religious conversation. I'm just what her words were. And she said that whenever she's alone, she feels most beautiful because when she feels connected to source, as that's when she feels most loved. And then there was a guy that I asked the same question to, and he said his memories with his grandparents, and it was always like the small talks with his grandparents because he was raised by his grandparents. And it was anytime just he thinks of his grandparents, he feels very loved, and they're not here anymore. And coming back to this part where I was reading, true love, the ability to love people despite their mistakes. Love makes room for the weakest, the cruelest, the most imperfect. I think that's something that I've truly been able to experience since letting go of the tensions within myself. And I've also seen the effects of love, without a doubt, just within within myself. I've seen what the effects of love can do to somebody, and just how much it can free you. And I want to make a video about this, because there was a moment for me that I would say I had no choice but to get my shit together after this moment. And it was with my friend Boo Boo. And I want to make that a separate video, but like, my friend Boo Boo is I think everything leading up to the moment where my friend kind of like demanded I get my shit together, he kind of released me from so much hurt, just by seeing me, not the damage that used to be on me. He saw through the damage, he saw through the pain, through the clouds, and he saw me. And love absolutely heals, and right here I wrote it down. When the heart is opened, when love flows into it and from it, a sense of security prevails. With security comes freedom. And when I think of the way my friend makes me feel, and the fact that he genuinely gave me so much confidence to go into the world, knowing that I always have somebody who's thinking of me, who's loved me as a human being for me, and I say that with 100% seriousness, that my friend was a part of the reason I felt zero fear going into the world, because I knew that I always had a place to call home in my friend's heart. Like, if anything were to happen to me and I were to disappear, I know that I was loved, and I have somebody who's always thought of me, who always thinks of me, and the spontaneity that the old man was talking about, the little moments where, he said that whenever he gets like a little surprise from his wife that lets him know that, oh, you were thinking of me, and it's the feeling. It's not about the action sometimes. And the action is amazing, but it's the feeling that one gets from love that overrides so much of it. Someone can give you a hug, and that's the action, but it's the feeling of the embrace from the hug that just can take away. It's like you think of a hard shell around your body, and when someone embraces that shell, just from that shell being embraced, it just crumbles and falls right off your body. And what penetrates is the energy called love, and me asking that question of when have you felt most loved, in a sense, it was to help me also understand when have I felt most loved, and I can certainly say I have many, many experiences that I've that have made me feel very, very loved. And recalling that, I'll give an example. So I don't usually like people shopping for me at all. And I also don't really, because I know what I like, so I always prefer to get things myself. But there's somebody that I don't mind shopping for me. And she got me a red flannel. And this flannel, now I use this because it's also like, I don't like people touching my food, but I don't mind this person touching my food, right? But that's because of that sense of security that I felt with this person. And like as a kid, and this is not a roundabout, but as a kid, I never got like my own clothes. I always was getting hand-me-downs. And with this person, I got my own clothes most of the time. And also candles. I loved candles. I always have loved candles. And she always knows what to get. She always knows like what to get me and what I like. And that's something that at the time I really loved and appreciated, but I don't think I actually was really seeing how much I don't, I loved it, but I don't think I realized how much I actually loved it until now that I'm talking about it, because I've just always been very weary of people trying to get me things and whether I'm gonna like it or not. And because I was always getting like secondhand things from people, I always hated the feeling that I could, and so it's why I always got my own stuff and wanted my own stuff. And with this person, there'd be times where I'd come back from going out and I'd have a bunch of candles just waiting for me, or I'd have a bunch of new clothes waiting for me. And there were times where I had this pair of Adidas shoes that I loved. I loved skating in them, and just like they were one of my favorite pairs of shoes. And I think she was like, hey, I'd worn these a couple times, I bought them and I'm not sure they fit me. Do you want them? And it's the thought. It's about, I thought of you. It's, you came to my mind, right? And that makes people feel very loved. And that's where the spontaneity comes from, and this a part of discovering kind of what love is. A part of that was for me to kind of maybe help other people pull it out of me through their insights. And another thing that I always thought about is, I like a lot of silence, actually. I know like I make these vlogs and I talk, right? But I really enjoy being with people that I don't have to say much around, and it's okay. And I was having a conversation with Lacey, my coworker, about this, and because I was saying I really like when I can just be quiet and the person, whoever I'm with, whether it's a romantic partner or my friends. Like, I like when I can just have nothing to say and they're also okay, they're comfortable, because sometimes, and this is where I speak for myself, sometimes just a presence alone is enough to feel loved. Just somebody being in your presence alone with nothing to be said, and I use myself as an example now, makes me feel very loved, because a lot of times I can kind of just zone off into my own world in my head while I'm with a lot of people, or when I'm with one or two people. I just kind of go off into my head, and at the same time, just having my friend there, or like a woman with me or whatever, just that can make me feel very, very loved, and I also think I really like it when they're secure in themselves to feel loved when I have nothing to say. I think that's also something that I really enjoy, that makes me feel very loved, is when somebody can feel secure in the silence when they're with me, and to know that they're not ignored, because their presence is enough. So I think, the initiative certainly is something that I think I've noticed. And spontaneity is a form of initiative, because you think of somebody and you do something for them, when they're not expecting it. Spontaneity and initiative can coincide very well. And this is something that I was studying. In every human being is a frightened beast, seeking survival and significance, and knowing very well that humans can outgrow this beast as well as they can empathize with each other. The process of outgrowing the beast is the process of discovering Ishvara. Now, Ishvara is the source, or love, God, whatever you want to call it. And so, outgrowing the negative feelings, the outgrowing the lower instinctual nature that dwells in us to judge, condemn, and reject people, to invalidate them in hatred, that, and to being petty, stingy, clingy, and possessive, to be able to outgrow these things is very, very hard, but it's absolutely doable. It is possible, and that's where meditation truly helps with that, to be able to sit still, to sit with yourself, and to let your mind ramble, for even if it happens for the entire meditation, to let it happen, but to that pause, to let your body process, to let your mind, to let your emotions process these emotions, the negativity, or just the disturbances, to let yourself process these disturbances, helps you to accept. The first step to really moving past something is to accept it. And I think it was super powerful to have all these different answers coming from people, but finding out that it all leads to the same peak. People just want to feel seen. They want to feel seen. It's why monogamy becomes important, or it's why people seek monogamy sometimes, or just exclusive relationships, is so that they can have that sense of security. And I'm just now kind of maybe talking philosophy, because when you're in a monogamous relationship, you mentally are gearing yourself and expecting that this person is going to see me in this light, and this is my person, right? And I'm not saying my as a possessive thing, but this person is in it with me and me alone. And so, yeah, it was kind of interesting, and it was really beautiful. You know, like, especially Dave, because Dave and I talk a lot, and he's kind of cynical sometimes, and he's a little he's not, I don't find him to be rough, but other people do find him. If you listen to him, he can come across as rough. You know, I've you know, him and I kind of, I'm a bit more gentler, where he he says that he doesn't have access to some of his emotions, or he just doesn't know how to feel them. And I enjoy talking to him because maybe he helps me even out, because sometimes I think I might be a little too gentle, but I don't think it's gentleness. I think I sometimes feel like I feel a lot of emotions across just for people, and he kind of helps me be objective and maybe level out a little bit if I find myself being too gentle. And so, yeah, I think I'll end it there. But when do you feel loved most? People feel loved when they feel seen by others. You know, it's why random acts of kindness can make someone feel incredibly loved. You know, and being patient, being filled with restraint for somebody, and to, like it says, to look past their mistakes, to love them despite their mistakes. That's when people feel loved most. So whenever you feel something that, some sort of emotion that isn't pleasant, that's okay. Just start with accepting that you feel it, but don't act upon it. And maybe take some time. You know, I always say you can't wake up from a nap still angry the way you went into taking the nap. So maybe take a nap and you'll feel good. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a beautiful day. I'd really like to put a song to this one, but I don't know which song to put. The Feeling by Landon McNamara, or maybe Positive Vibration by Bob Marley. We'll go with that. So, yeah, thank you, and take care.